Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our subject, Understanding the Self. Today, we'll be focusing our discussion on the political self. Now, according to Yakat in 2005, the question of who the Filipino is can be best explained by looking at three facets that form the identity of the Filipino. These three facets are the social political dimension, the cultural roots, and consciousness. Now, under the social political dimension, as citizen of the Republic of the Philippines, a Filipino may enjoy full political and civil rights and is obliged to pledge allegiance to the state. And the state, in return, provides protection and public goods and services to him. Now, a Filipino citizen of the Republic of the Philippines, by citizen pertains to a member of the political community who has the right and privilege to participate in political activities and political affairs. Now, Article 4, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution defines Filipino as first, born in the Philippines. Okay, having parents who are citizens of the Philippines. Third, born before January 17, 1973 of Filipino mothers and neutralized in accordance with the law. The second facet is cultural roots. Now, we have defined culture in our previous discussion, but let me repeat again. Culture is defined as all socially learned behaviors, beliefs, feelings, and values the members of society experience. Now, culture in general affects almost every aspect of an individual socially, economically, and politically. Now, there are two types of political involvements under cultural roots. We have the political engagement as proactive engagement in the public arena. What does this mean? This can be seen when one campaigns for an elected position, joins political rallies or street demonstrations. So the second one is political participation in any organization to address social problems such as community organizing. And the third facet is consciousness, which I believe every one of us here is proud to be a Filipino. This is the psychological dimension or awareness of oneself as a Filipino. Okay, now part of this topic is the discussion on the Filipino values and traits, which will be discussing the positive and the negative ones. Now, let's proceed first with the positive Filipino values and traits. Let's start with hospitality. This is one of the characteristic of the Filipinos that foreigners truly love. Okay, when we say hospitable, we are very much welcoming, we're very friendly and sociable. This Filipino attribute is what foreigners want. This is one of the aspects, or let's say the attribute that many foreigners love, and that's why they keep on coming back to our country. Okay, aside from they could enjoy the beautiful places or the scenic spots in our country, they could also enjoy the friendliness of our people. Okay, given that we could also speak English and understand English well, so that's hospitality. The next one is adaptability and resilience. Just recently, our country experienced the devastating impact or aftershock of the typhoon Christine. But where can you see uh, the people who are already devastated, place who are flooding, and yet you can see people swimming, smiling, enjoying the disaster or whatever it is, the aftershock of this typhoon. Now that shows the adaptability and resilience of Filipinos. And just like the previous super typhoons which struck our country, like the strong earthquake and super typhoon Yolanda, okay, that devastated the central part of Visayas, Filipinos are so persistent enough to get back on their feet, even without solid help from the government. We Filipinos could adapt to any and every situation, and that, of course, we can mingle and we can adapt ourselves to even different kinds of people all around the world. So that's one typical strength and positive value and traits of a Filipino. Okay, another one is resourcefulness, and creativity. We Filipinos are known for our ingenuity. We are creative in many ways, whether it's in art, music, science, technology, or business. We Filipinos, particularly with the help of our artists, our singers, we've been known all around the world as great singers, great artists, great performers. Now, some of our smartest countrymen can come up with a brilliant idea despite of poverty or lack of financial resources. And with our status in life, with our lack of funds, etc., we still can create a lot of good stuff and a lot of good inventions. And that's how ingenious Filipinos are. Now, Filipinos are also good in recycling trash and turn them into ingenious products. Aside from these, Filipinos are known to be faithful. Okay? We Filipinos are one of the most faithful people in the world. Whatever our religion is, we still remain faithful and we don't easily lose hope. Okay? If in other countries, some people will already be depressed upon losing their houses or upon losing their resources because of, let's say, a devastating disaster. But we Filipinos manage to rise above the situations, to rise up again because of our faith. And no matter how devastating our situation is, we still manage to go on with life with positivity, with peacefulness and determination to achieve our goals, no matter how impossible they may seem. Okay? Aside from being faithful, we Filipinos have this bayanihan spirit. Okay? We are in close relationship with our neighbors. And of course, a typical example of this bayanihan in the modern days is that, when let's say a contestant, or when our contestant from a beauty pageant is in need of votes, we Filipinos rally to support these candidates of ours, okay, or our representatives from these pageants. Aside from that, when there's a Filipino pride, when there's a Filipino doing good in other countries, we all give our support. Okay, and we are all proud of that person. This is a typical example of the Bayanihan spirit. Okay, our communities, okay, are we can still see in our communities how we help each other, especially in times of calamities and in times of need. Of course, when there are fiestas or festivals and other events, we all are one in the celebration and in preparation for these particular events. So that's the Bayanihan spirit. Okay, aside from the Bayanihan spirit, or aside from the faithfulness and others, we Filipinos are known to be frugal. When we say frugal, we know how to handle money, and we know how to handle, okay, or we know how to live within our means. Now, we shop wisely to save our money for future important uses, and we are conscious on the price tag. Especially Filipinos love discounts. When we went to other countries like Japan, like Hong Kong, they already know if you're a Filipino, because Filipino love to ask discounts. Okay, and we if there are opportunities when we can ask for discounts, we will always go for it. Now, Filipino parents also do sacrifices, like skipping meals, or sacrificing the things that they want for the sake of their loved ones, for the sake of their children. So we are known to be thrifty, frugal, okay, and frugal. Next, Filipinos are of course polite. Okay, we are very courteous people. The children and young Filipinos will always use the words po and opo to show respect to someone who's older or who is in a higher position. We also do the mano po gesture, okay, bringing the back of the hand of an elder to one's forehead as a sign of respect to our elderlies. And Filipino workers will always address their customers with sir and ma'am to show humility and to honor them. Okay, that's the Filipino way of being polite. Okay, next we have the sense of humor. Of course, we Filipinos always smile. In fact, in the rankings in Asia and around the world, we always come on top. Nothing can take away the humor and jolliness of many Filipinos, not even a devastating disaster. Okay, you know, if we browse videos on YouTube, we can still see the smiles, the beautiful smiles of the Filipino people, despite the calamities and despite those disasters. This doesn't mean, by the way, that we don't care or that we just take this for granted. No, this is our way of fighting back these challenges, and that we believe that there's always hope. And instead of wallowing in fears and in anger or in sorrow or in depression, we always find a way uh, to cling to hope, and it is being manifested by our sense of humor and our smiles. All right. Now, another one is, of course, discretion and dignity. Perhaps many of our politicians don't have delicadeza, but our people, especially the Filipinas, still observe delicadeza, despite the growing number of Filipinos giving up their delicate. Many Filipinos always think twice before making decisions that can affect their dignity and honor. Okay? We Filipinos are also known to be very grateful. Aside from being hospitable, Filipinos are also known to be very thankful. We don't forget anyone who helped us, whether he or she is a Filipino or not. We even build monuments for them, okay, to show our utmost respect. Okay, and we warmly thank those who help us rebuild our lives, especially after disasters or after calamities. Okay, next, last of the many positive Filipino traits and values is we are very much family oriented. For the sake of family, one is willing to sacrifice everything and anything. Okay, particularly our parents will do anything just to give us a bright future. Now they are willing to work in a foreign country. Many of our OFWs, our parents who have sacrificed their stay here in the Philippines just to give their children a bright future. Okay, so we are very family oriented. And of course, if we have positive Filipino values and traits, we also have negative ones. All right. The first of which is crab mentality. Okay, simply put, this refers to the behavior of preventing someone from achieving something due to jealousy or envy. Now, instead of praising or rendering assistance, someone with a crab mentality would think, if I can have it, then you can't as well, and will purposely try to bring his or her victim down. And just like the crabs who could have escaped from the bucket if they only stopped pulling each other down, nothing ever gets accomplished. And this is actually one of the many negative Filipino values that we have. Another is Ningas Kugon. Ningas Kugon is one reason why we sometimes exert half-hearted effort in our undertakings, which is actually because of this. And Ningas Kugon is somehow related to or is likened to procrastination. It is translated to burning kugon grass in English. This is idiom. This is an idiom which is meant to illustrate how Filipinos initially exhibit great enthusiasm at the beginning of a project, but at the end they this fire or this desire is extinguished, leaving our work either half baked or unfinished. So that's Ningas Pugon. Another negative value or trait that we have is manana habit. This manana habit actually is known in English as um, uh, Manana habit is actually known as tomorrow in English. Okay, the habit encourages procrastination as an ability. It is ironic that the Spanish would accuse Filipinos of being lazy when they themselves taught us the manana habit. Okay, in Filipino, this is the mamayana. Okay, mamayana. Okay, um, by the way, I stand to be corrected. Ningas Kugon is not procrastination, it's manana habit. Ningas Kugon is, again, being half-baked, half-hearted. When you start good and then end up bad. That is Ningas Kugon. While manana habit from the word mamayana or tomorrow or some other time until such a time that you're near the deadline, that is procrastination. So that is manana habit. Okay? And we Filipinos love to cram. Okay, love to do things when the deadline is near, and so because of that, the the level or the quality of our work is of course bad because of this habit or because of this value. Okay. Another is that we have this Filipino time. Okay. Related to manana habit, Filipino time refers to Filipinos' own unique brand of time, which is known to be minutes or hours behind the standard time. So when a Filipino here in the Philippines, when a Filipino event is happening, when they say it's at 9 or it's when it's at 8 a.m., definitely it will be happening at 9 a.m. Okay? So this behavior usually drives time observant foreigners crazy. When we went to Japan, they are very much strict when it comes to time. And some of our Japanese friends really know about this Filipino time. Okay? So while some of us may have been used to this kind of attitude, but still, this is a waste of time, energy, and resources. So we really have to do something about this Filipino time. Next is onion skinned or balat sibuyas. Now, we Filipinos are famous for being onion skinned or easily slighted at perceived insults. We are easily triggered. While it's perfectly normal for us to taunt and criticize others, we can handle the same when it's us being hurled back at when it's us, okay, who experience the same. Okay, incidents showcasing our extra sensitivity to insults usually involve a foreigner making either a bona fide racist remark or a humorous jab at us Filipinos. Now, true to form, our reactions would range from righteous indignation to excessive grandstanding. While it is alright to feel incensed, throwing a fit in front of the world would inevitably do us no good at all. So, we are actually being known for this. All right. Next is disregard for rules. All right, so we Filipinos are known for having a hard time obeying rules. Now, this social phenomenon is not exclusive to hardened criminals either. A look at everyday life in the country shows Filipinos from the entire social strata nonchalantly breaking the rules, whether it is something as benign as jaywalking or as dangerous as beating the red light. Now, an interesting theory goes that Filipinos' penchant for law breaking goes beyond mere lack of discipline or failure to implement the rules. It is something that is ingrained in our culture. Being oppressed under the yoke of colonization for such a long time made our ancestors defiant of the rules they believed to be discriminatory. Now, although such self-righteous disobedience may have been all right during their time, the behavior would continue to manifest itself among later Filipinos, resulting in an utter lack of respect for the rules. So that's disregard for rules. Next is we have the colonial mentality. As mentioned earlier, we have been colonized by many countries, particularly by the Spaniards, Americans, and Japanese. Now, probably one of the biggest flaws we have as a nation is our colonial mentality, defined as preference for all things foreign over our own, a negative trait that we acquired from our days under the Spanish and the Americans. As a result, we Filipinos have been indoctrined with the misconception that our culture is inferior to that of past colonizers. Now, glaring examples of the colonial mentality including patronizing foreign instead of local brands, favoring foreign values over our own, and even desiring to look more Western. Now, if we can't even have pride in our own country, then unfortunately, we will always be stuck with this self defeating mentality. And that's colonial mentality. Next, we have the balikbayan box mentality. While there is nothing wrong with giving gifts to one's family and friends, which actually we truly love as Filipinos, it becomes a different matter when said family and friends either misconstrue or abuse the OFW's generosity. Now, in local parlance, this has become known as the balikbayan box mentality. People ingrained with this mentality either become exploitative or jealous of the success of the OFW, not knowing that he or she is working hard away from his loved ones in a foreign country. Even considering or without considering that whether our loved ones would have been working 2 or 3 jobs just to earn that money. Some also believe that the practice undoubtedly contributes to the Filipinos' colonial mentality. Okay? Next, we have the bahala na attitude. Okay, roughly translated as come what may, the Filipinos' version of fatalism is the belief in leaving everything to the hands of fate. Now, we are All okay. Filipinos are very faithful, okay, while not inherently detrimental. Now, this attitude is still a double edged sword. On one hand, positive aspects of this behavior include belief in divine providence and national social responsibility. Okay? On the other hand, the attitude can also promote a sense of helplessness and resignation of one's fate at the local level, and a countrywide lack of empathy and collective action on the national level. Now, this is also the reason why we tend to have amnesia over past wrongdoings committed by our leaders. Of course, one of the endemic problems that we have in our country is corruption. And it's one of the biggest social ills our country has continued to face since time immemorial. Okay, let's face it, our culture of corruption is embedded deep within our system and reinforced by a complex web of economic and social factors, which include personal ambitions and twisted sense of loyalty to friends and kin. Now, the Philippines is in for a long haul if our officials and we ourselves do not get rid of this very negative attitude or negative value and trait. So that's our discussion for the Filipino values and trait, both positive and negative. Moving on, we will now focus on politics and political culture. Now, according to Aristotle, man is a political animal. Other people might easily interpret this as something that refers to the intrinsic desire of every human being to lead or govern. Now, this is far from what is meant by the philosopher, which is Aristotle. Similar to being a social animal, humans come together and form a political body. Now, the creation of a political body is intended for the attainment of a good life, of course. Now, for instance, the city state, which originates from the Greek word polis, is understood as the highest and the most desirable form of organized society. Now, Aristotle believed that humans, like animals, intrinsically work together to achieve a common goal. Like the saying, no man is an island. Humans are interconnected and must work together. Now, Kendall in 1998 defines politics as social institutions through which power is acquired and exercised by people and groups. In Aristotle's work, Politics, he describes the role that politics and the political community must play in bringing about the virtuous life in citizenry. Now, politics is an important part of human development because it promotes ideologies about democracy, citizenship, human rights, freedom, family, health, and other social issues. Now, politics exists in all human power and understand proper functioning of a democratic society as citizens. Stevens and Anglin Jusim in 2015 cite that in some people, politics is a central component of their identity. Now, for others, politics may be a more peripheral concern, but temporarily becomes a central one in certain situations. Now, the political community where one belongs offers an important opportunity for them to define themselves and provide opportunities to satisfy their needs for affiliation. The political self organizes one's beliefs, attitudes, and affiliation. Now, people use their political values and belief system as unique individuals in society. So that's politics and political culture. And last for our discussion is the characteristics of political culture in the Philippines. Now, we have here six, okay, six important political culture in the Philippines. Six characteristics of political culture in the Philippines. First is dominance of family ties or kinship. Now, in local government units such as municipality or barangay, big clans dominate the political arena. Political dynasties usually control the government. In the Philippines, where consanguinity is given utmost importance, it does not matter if the political candidate is inefficient, immoral, or corrupt. As long as he or she is part of a political dynasty found trustworthy by the community, he or she would also be considered trustworthy. And I firmly believe that this should be stopped. Okay? Another characteristic of our political culture is euphemism. Officials and employees in lower positions are not frank or straightforward in criticizing officials of higher rank. Instead, the parinig or patutsada in Filipino, okay, are used in confronting to address the problems or issues. Okay, they put more premium on relationship as criticisms might offend them. Thus, in the end, problems and issues are not resolved. Okay, the third one is utang na loob. Filipinos feel obliged to pay immediately or in the future any favor they receive from another person. They always look for opportunity to return any favor given to them. In politics, utang na loob is instrumental in becoming a popular politician. Now, especially elections are coming now, or the election for the Senate and for the 12 senators and for the mayors are now coming. Okay, some politicians give everything to their constituents, especially during elections, to instill in them the sense of utang na loob as a guarantee to win their votes. Okay, the fourth, sense of overdependency. Now, some constituents rely on elected official or a patron politician for their personal and economic needs. This culture results in the re-election of incompetent officials whose means to stay in power is to provide temporary relief to impoverished Filipino families. The fifth, belief that majority of politicians are corrupt. The term buwaya, okay, has been used to describe corrupt politicians in the Philippines, signifying their greed for money and power. Now, many Filipinos believe that politicians are corrupt and are in government service only to promote their vested interests and not the public interest. And last but not the least, lack of political maturity. Now, people elect officials based on popularity and personality and not on performance and platform. Politics is no longer limited to individuals with backgrounds in political science and law, as even celebrities are now able to hold positions in office by sheer popularity. So, thank you very much for listening. This will be uh, all for our discussion for the topic political self. Again, stay tuned for more videos, and I'm looking forward for your participation in our next discussion.